Okay, so we are doing a test recording of Microsoft Flight Simulator, complete IFR mode, heading from Pitt Meadows to Cranbrook, British Columbia, and we will soon be in vectors to the final approach. We are able to look around. I wish that they would make it so that this instrument panel would sit still once I put it there. But
Bombardier Juliet 70, you are 55 miles west, turn left heading 035, expect vectors, ILS, runway 16 approach. Turn left heading 035, expect vectors, ILS, runway 16 approach.
So
Bombardier Juliet 70, orbit warp 7.
So we just moved our heading bug to 035. We're currently on a set course, but now we're going to switch to the heading, and the aircraft is now going to follow the heading bug. Now, in any IFR situation, you need to be well ahead of any maneuvers you might need to make. In other words,
Bombardier Juliet 70, please expedite your turn to heading 035.
okay, he's asking us to expedite our turn to 035. We are Bombardier Juliet 70. We're in a Bombardier, just a mid-size passenger jet. It's not even as big as a 737. Probably holds somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 passengers, somewhere in there, I'm guessing a little bit. I've never actually flown one of these, but this isn't about the aircraft. This is about the avionics and following the flight system present in most of the world, and Canada kind of is one of the leaders in that. If you hold a Canadian license, you've got probably one of the top 2 or 3 licenses in the world today in how they're ranked in quality of pilot that they turn out. Okay, so we're on the heading of 035. I can't talk too much because I do need to stay ahead of what's about to happen to us. We are in vectors now for the final approach, which is going to be runway 16. So I'm going to set the runway heading bug to 16, and approximately right there is where we want to be. I could extend this out a little bit better here. We're looking for a course of 16. Right now it's setting at 070. We don't need this. We're also going to switch there.
Bombardier Juliet 70, contact Vancouver Center on 133.6.
Vancouver Center on 133.6.
Bombardier Juliet.
Duplication of voice there, but... And we'll tune the center and we'll contact Vancouver Center.
Bombardier November Charlie Romeo Juliet 70 with you.
Bombardier November Charlie Romeo Juliet 70 Vancouver Center, roger. Altimeter 2992.
Now, if you're watching what I'm doing here, I'm adjusting the speed to get in under 250. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm anticipating a clearance, or a directive, if you like, direction. We're currently at 13,000, not 12,000. If it went up just a slight little bit, it would now read 13,000. It's 12,999, a little bit of a bug within FSX. That's Microsoft Flight Simulator 10. We're actually at 13,000 feet. Altitudes at 10,000 feet and less, you're restricted to 250 knots. So we are slowing down, which means our nose is kind of pitching up on us here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stage of flap.
Bombardier Juliet 70, turn left heading 035, descend and maintain 11,000.
Okay, so 035, descend and maintain.
Turn left heading 035.
going to descend on our cruise control here. Basically, we're playing with the autopilot cruise control to 11,000. That's 11,000 feet. I've got the speed still restricted here. And I'm going to start taking some flap. There. Or slats, if you like. You can see I've picked up a little bit of slats there, just to try to restrict our forward movement slightly, because we don't want to increase speed as we're descending, which is, if you've never flown before, these aircraft, well, they're super streamlined. So in other words, if you stick the nose down, you're going to start picking up speed in a hurry. So we're creating some drag, if you would, off the wings by lifting the slots on the airfoil. I'm a former commercial pilot. I was a multi-IFR commercial instrument instructor. I was also a line pilot, and I was a single pilot on a line out of a company out of Winnipeg, certified to cap minimums and known icing. I was a top IFR instructor. I really knew my stuff. It's been many years now, though, but yeah, we still very much enjoy it, and we've forgotten probably more than we know anymore, but we still know a fair bit. Okay, so we got the first, oh, there's a little bit of turbulence there. If we look down here, I'm getting anywhere from 120 to 165 frames per second at a true 2K. That's 2715 by 1527 resolution. I'm running pretty much everything in my settings right to the wall. So there used to be a time when people used to, oh man, if I could only just get, you know, minimal settings in Flight Simulator and hold 60 frames per second. Those days are long gone with modern computing. So we're kicking it now. 4790K running at 4.7 gigahertz. I can push it harder, but not necessary. 2126 megabytes or megahertz per second on the GTX 1070 Ti. 8 gigabytes of RAM there, 16 gigabytes in the computer, SSDs, M.2s, gaming motherboards, the whole 9 yards, water cooled. So very nice system. We can adjust this slightly, and then I can pull this back down. I wish we could lock this in place, but I guess it's just too old for that. It's too bad too. If somebody knows how to lock this in place, maybe you'd let me know. Maybe there's something I'm missing here. Okay, so we're getting in tighter. I'm expecting more vectors, and we're going to be coming up, probably they're going to be bringing us around onto the base leg for the IFR approach to runway 16. I'm going to start slowing us down a little bit more here in anticipation of that, bleeding off the speed, if you like. And I am going to take another 10 degrees of flap, just because we're slowing down. I want to keep that nose down a little bit there. I want to keep the aircraft level. I don't want to be cruising nose high. We're at 11,000. We're still on our designated heading of 035. I have the HSI needle set for runway 16. Actually, I'm 165. I need to back that off just a little bit. So I'm ahead of the game. I already have my nav radios pre-programmed in with the correct frequencies. So when we hear the Morse code going, I'm already selected to those radios. You'll hear the doot 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 and all that. I'll have to go down and shut those off, and you'll see the needle come alive, as they call it, and then they'll start vectoring me around to the approach. Probably vice versa. They'll be vectoring me around, and then it'll come alive. So we're just coming around the backside now here. Very rough terrain in here. Very realistic, by the way. FSX really got it right.
Juliet 70, turn right heading
045 for Bombardier Juliet 70.
Turn right heading 045, descend and maintain 10,000.
Okay, 045 for Juliet 70 and 10,000.
70, turn right heading 075, descend and maintain 10,000.
Okay,
Right heading 075, descend and maintain 10,000. Bombardier Juliet 70.
okay, I'm going to take another flap of flaps here. I think we're good for it. That's going to help start slowing us down. And I'm going to bring the speed back yet some more. We're going to bring it back into 200 here now. I got lots of flap for it. We're in the turn, coming down to 10,000. I was trying to do the call, but there's an automated voice that'll do it. But for realism, I was trying to repeat the call, but she 3 in a row, 3 different changes. So I never got a chance, and then the automated voice picked it up for me. That back in. I want to be able to see my pitch nose up down here, and this is adjusted here. This is sort of where I'm trimmed for at the moment. I'll leave it there because the autopilot will obviously see there it goes back. It's trimmed for it, but when we actually start the descent with the glide path on the localizer, I will trim it. Otherwise sometimes it seems a little tardy to want to follow it. I'm expecting another call here momentarily, so I'm going to start bleeding back the speed a little bit more again yet. Again, you got to bleed that speed early in these aircraft. They're so sleek, otherwise you're going to come in too hot. And you'll not be able to put the gear down, and you'll end in the missed approach. It's really important. Flying IFR in these, high-performance aircraft is what they are. They're so slick. You got to slow them down early, and if you're not doing it, you're never going to get down. You'll be in the missed approach every time. Oh.
You are 2 miles north, turn right heading 135, descend and maintain 2,100. Cleared ILS, runway 16 approach. Maintain 2,100 until established on the localizer. Switch to advisory on 122.9.
And that's 135 for Juliet 70. Descend and maintain 8,100 ILS, runway 16 approach, maintain 8,100 till established on the localizer.
135, descend and maintain 8,000.
Coming down in the altitude right away, everything, don't wait.
Approach, maintain 8,100.
Whoops, that's a big change there in the altitude. It's because the thing's moving around on me here. Come on. Come on. Because the knobs move around with your mouse. Okay, so first things first, control the aircraft, do what you're told. Radio's second, but you kind of want to be right on it. So we're going to tune 122.9, and we're going to announce our position. Now we're watching this localizer like a hawk. Let's turn on our cabin lights here. They're here somewhere. Where are they again? Hydraulic, miscellaneous, panel, external lights, landing lights, vegan stone. They're here somewhere. Engine. Where the heck are they? They're here somewhere. I know they are. Come on, where are you? I can never find them when I want. Panel lights. I think that's them. Yes, it is. Okay, so we got our panel lights on. They're hard to find in this airplane for some reason. Okay, there we are. We're definitely distracted from what we should really be watching is this localizer coming alive. As soon as it does, you better start moving that heading bug, or you're just going to sail right through it. Let's announce our position again.
Charlie, Yankee, X-ray, Charlie, traffic, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet, 70 is 22.
There's the localizer coming alive, so we're going to move the heading bug in to chase it. We don't want to chase it, we want to lead it. So we're starting to turn. This is the course of the runway. We're coming in a little bit. Here comes the localizer. Here it is, 2 in pink. So you get it in dual displays here. And we're going to keep leading it just slightly. We don't want to go through it if we can help it. You don't know what the winds are like either. So let's keep chasing it forward, or leading it forward. Okay, here's the glide path. It's slowly coming in, so she's intercepting us to the localizer, which is runway center extended. Okay, now we slightly went through it, so I'm just going to slightly correct for it. And we'll bring it back in, because here comes the glide path. I'm going to cut our speed some more now, because in anticipation of dropping the gear. Now this is the heading for the runway, 160. So I'm actually sitting about 170. We're going to slowly bring this back into center. You'll see it slowly coming back to the left. Here comes the glide path. I'm going to lower the gear. There goes the gear. And I am going to trim for a downward. Come on. Come on. Okay, we're pretty much on it. So now I am going to engage the approach function of the autopilot. That's what I did over here. That's the approach function. Now it's going to automatically chase that. Now do you see where the trim is here? And see what I said about it? It tends to lag a little bit, so I trim it down to help it stay within it. I'm going to knock the speed back a little bit more, and I'm going to take another set of flaps here to just start slowing us down a little bit. Initially that's going to fight the altitude loss to stay with the glide path. We can see we're a little bit above it, so it's slowly we're coming back into center on that. We're dead center on the localizer. If you look up here, there's the runway. We're slowly coming back in on the localizer. Just trim down just a little bit more to help it a little bit. It's all automated. It should do it on its own, but I'm just trying to help it a little bit. And you can see we're slowly coming back in to dead center on the glide path. That's the angle or plane of paper. If you're going to draw a line from the button of the approach of the runway, the button as they call it, draw a line to where we should be at a certain angle. We're almost smack dab in the middle of it, just like a piece of paper. And this is a laser lining us up for center of the runway extended. So we're on the perfect angle coming down to the button of the runway, and we're on a perfect alignment with the runway. This looks good. We can retrim up a little bit here because this is where it wants to be. So I'm not using the hydraulics are not fighting the actual trim of the aircraft, and that'll help this stay right in the center, which is where it wants to be. We still, even though the runway is right here, we're fighting a little bit of a wind, so I'm trimmed this way a little bit, or the heading is this way to hold this line over the ground. Probably a lot of information. Let's give another position report here.
X-ray Charlie, traffic, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet, 70 is 10 miles north, inbound, ILS, runway 16.
That's why you're not hearing the tower here. This is an uncontrolled, or shall we say, it's community-controlled airstrip in Cranbrook, British Columbia. There is no tower. You report to and from the tower that's in Vancouver or Victoria, which is quite a ways away. You can do that at altitude with the radios you have because of line of sight. And even though it's like 500 miles, 400 miles, nautical miles as the crow flies inland, at that altitude you can still communicate. They have repeaters. But when you get down this low, they lose touch with you. Now they do have remote radar here, but you're still talking to any traffic that's around here, and they all must be on this channel. Now you got to watch out for rogue aircraft that are not on this channel. So sometimes you get people that just don't know what they're doing, and it's very dangerous. But this is a true IFR approach. So that's why pilots in Canada, you got to be licensed to fly around, and they make sure you know what you're doing. And we'll give another precision report.
Charlie, Yankee, X-ray, Charlie, traffic, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet, 70 is 6 miles north, inbound, ILS, runway 16.
We'll do one more of those reports, and then I'm going to report that I'm on final, because there could be traffic getting ready to take off on this runway. And they need to know, because they may not see you, especially if right now it's a beautiful sunny clear day, but if it's cloudy, which I could be in solid cloud right now, they'd never see me. They got to know I'm here. You know, I mean, I could even go up, one early and say,
Charlie, Yankee, X-ray, Charlie, traffic, Bombardier, November,
there's the one.
Charlie, Romeo, Juliet.
We're now on final.
Is on final, runway 1.
I'm warning them. Don't be pulling out on the runway in preparation of takeoff, and they could be doing run-ups and all kinds of things. People do dumb things, and when you got a big aircraft like this, moving fast, compared to a little Cessna,
Approaching 16.
he doesn't. You don't want him getting in the way.
Charlie, Yankee, X-ray, Charlie, traffic, Bombardier, November, Charlie, Romeo, Juliet.
Now I need to concentrate here a little bit.
Final, runway 16.
I'm going to be switching off the autopilot and the speed, and I'll be going in just before we land in a full manual landing. Okay, so I can kill the speed now. Make sure my
Don't sink.
Yeah, I'm not sinking, don't you worry. And this is the autopilot disconnect. And he's going to take us right down to the button, and right about here, I am disconnecting the autopilot. I'm flaring out, and I've totally retracted the speed, and the flaps are coming in to ensure the lift is off the wings, and the brake and the pedals, come on, are getting as much friction as they can, taking the lift off the wings. Now that was a little bit sloppy on my part, but I was fighting some cords here by the computer. And I can power up a little bit, and we will go towards the end here, and I will apply some brake, and we'll turn around and we'll pull up to the terminal, and we'll call that a wrap. And I'm hoping somebody out there is going to appreciate what I just showed you, and really the know-how it takes to do something like this.
3, 4.
Okay, so let's bring the power up. We got the full turn on, a little bit of left brake here to help us turn. Oops, I don't need no flap there. That was an accident.
Approaching 3, 4.
I'm not sure why the...
On runway 3, 4. Flaps, flaps.
Yes, I know my flaps are up. Anyways, not sure why I'm getting
flaps, flaps.
dual audio through my headset and out my speakers. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. So we're taxiing in here. There I am. Kind of trying to control it. While I'm steering, a little bit tricky. Just a little bit tricky. Third person steering there a little bit. We're still on the taxiway. Try to keep that center line in the right dead center. Not sure why we're getting so much power here. Something is off in my controls here. I should not be getting quite that amount of power.
On taxiway, on taxiway.
I have to lock up the brakes practically. I'm still getting way too much power. Something off of my controls. It's been a while since I've run this, okay? It's not really responding as it should to my inputs. Have to look into that. Anyways, we're just going to stop right here. On center line, try to be anyways. A little bit sloppy, people, but that's it. We're landed at Cranbrook International Airport. Regional airport probably, but very tricky landing in here. It's also a very dangerous runway for those who've never been here. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do another one. Thanks for watching. Bye now.